What is the strangest experience you have had with a friend's parent? A dad of one of my friends kept urging me to come over and sit in his hot tub with him. My friend wasn't there at the time. Yeah, no. Was friends with a girl whose dad murdered her mom. I was at their house shortly before it happened and remember him playing a game where he'd hold pillows over our faces and have us raise our hands when we couldn't breathe anymore. Guess how he murdered his wife? BrainyDude didn't put her hand up. Jesus Christ, why did I laugh? One time I'm at my friend's house and his father comes up to me and he asks if I want anything to drink. I politely ask if I could have a glass of water. Dead serious, he responds with, "Oh sorry, I don't think we have any water, would you like some pasta instead?" Thinking it's some kind of joke I say sure. He goes into the kitchen and comes back a little later with a drinking glass full of spaghetti and hands it to me before going back to whatever he was doing. Needless to say, I was quite confused. She was pushing me to date her daughter. Hardcore. We were 10. Oh god, yes. At 8 years old, I'm at my friend's house for a sleepover. His parents start arguing over something. I don't remember what it is, but my friend's dad looks straight at me and says, "Never get married." At 8 years old I had no idea what to do with this information, so I just froze. I was maybe 12 to 13 years old and staying the night at a friend's house. Her parents took us out to a diner for dinner and my friend's dad was staring at me and finally said, "You have very beautiful lips." I froze. It was super weird. Luckily my friend piped up and yelled at her dad for being creepy, took my hand, and we left the table for a while. Her mom said nothing. I was in the 6th grade and had just started going over my best friend's house for the weekend. His dad was sitting on the ledge for the fireplace bumping Hollaback Girl by Gwen Stefani on repeat for a good 45 minutes. I practically lived over at my friend's house from my mid to late teens. They were a devout Pentecostal family and his dad was treasurer of their church. I go over to their house, walk in and both parents are immediately in my face. "Did you steal money from us?" Someone broke into their old top desk and stoked a K from the church funds. They accused me. Then the mother broke down and started crying, sitting on the couch, hands in her face bawling. Then they all started praying for the return of the money. Then they prayed over me for guidance to do the right thing. I thought. What they didn't know was that their son, my friend, had his eye on a Nikon F3 camera for a few months and his parents wouldn't buy it for him. What really blew my mind was he bought the camera and they never suspected him of stealing the money and he never apologized to me for it. We picked up my friend's mom one night at a bar, cause she was drunk, and on the way back she kept yelling, "I'm not going to F you" to me in the backseat, and I was high out of my mind. But yeah, that was the strangest 1-hour ride of my life. Dude, she so wanted to F you. Hell yeah. My lifelong friend's dad is a nurse practitioner. When I was 19 I lost a lot of weight in a short amount of time, so I went in to see him. He gave me a rectal exam, stuck his fingers up my butt. He had big fat fingers, so it was painful and extremely awkward. I'll occasionally get a, "Hey, remember that time my dad stuck his fingers up your butt?" from my buddy. I was coming back from the annual country fair with a childhood friend and his cousin, heading to my friend's house. Unfortunately I got really sick at the fair and was sprawled out in the back of my friend's cousin's car trying my best not to puke everywhere. It didn't help that we live out in the mountains, so the drive was unbearable. Out of desperation for my stomach pain to pass, I didn't even turn on the lights when I got to his house and literally fell onto the bed in the dark, only to find his dad under me snoring. Apparently my friend's dad was staying up waiting for us to get home and fell asleep on his bed. I obviously woke him up and he freaked out, turned on the lights and yet he was in his underwear. When he saw it was us he laughed at the situation, but it was definitely one of the most uncomfortable experiences of my life. I'm just glad I didn't throw up on him. Senior year of high school, I asked out a girl right before school ends for the summer. She said she wanted to stay friends. Bummer, but at least I'll never kick myself for not trying. I was still invited to her graduation party at her house, so I went, as I also enjoyed being friends with her regardless of any romance. At the party her dad met me in the kitchen and patted me on the back saying bummer about her saying no. If it was up to me, you'd already be my son-in-law. Not sure how to respond, I awkwardly laughed and said thanks. Not 20 minutes later he walked into a shed outside and asked us teenagers if we wanted to see a magic trick. He then proceeded to pull a dove out of his pants, a living, breathing dove. The guy was one of the nicest people I've met, but I never knew what he was going to say or do next. When I was 15, one of my best friend's mothers was a raging alcoholic. Every day she'd start drinking in the afternoon and be blackout drunk by 9 p.m. Whenever I was over, the drunker she got, the more fixated she'd become with my bust. She didn't have much herself and was convinced I was wearing padded bras. She even made me take off my bra one night to give to her to inspect. We were all really uncomfortable, but it was the only way to get her to stop talking about my breasts. When I was in high school, I was having dinner at my girlfriend's parents' place one night, and she has 2 older brothers that were there as well. So I was setting my plate down at the table when suddenly I feel someone slap my ass. I turn around and it was her dad. We both just looked at each other, and then he apologizes and say he thought I was one of his sons. I could tell he was pretty embarrassed. That was an awkward dinner, lol. Especially because he didn't like me very much. In high school, my friend was dating a guy and we both were invited by him to his house. His mom was super mean though, and acted like us being there was awful. I rang the doorbell and was invited inside by the mom. I was there for an hour and had to go outside to get something out of my car. I came back inside and heard you excusing. I'm sorry. Yes, you didn't ring the doorbell before barging into my home. Oh, I'm sorry. Should I go back outside? We wait to be invited inside in this house. I went back outside and the door was closed on me. I rang the doorbell and heard the mom say, "Who is it?" "Hi, it's Rustmat here to see your son." "Just a moment." Opens door, "Please come inside." Tunnels out. Every time you leave the house even for a second, she expected the pageantry of a first invite. A friend's father was absolutely convinced that I was only friends with his daughter for money. They weren't exactly rich, maybe a tiny bit better off than we were, but it was impossible for him to know that. When her Dreamcast needed a new cable after one of her pets chewed through it, he came storming into her room while we were hanging out and demanded to know why I thought he would buy me something. My friend had to jump in and explain that it was her cable, not mine. He'd complain if I spent the night because he had to feed me like I was a stray cat. It was incredibly weird. The worst part is he made extremely inappropriate jokes all throughout dinner. When I was there, I was maybe 14. Looking back, I'm starting to wonder if he wasn't just high. My friend explained that he kept one fingernail long to pick his nose, but I've been told that is not its only purpose. None of his behavior ever made sense. We were whitewater rafting in Maine. I was in a truck with my friend, a different friend's dad, 2 10-year-old boys going to the pickup spot at the end of the rafting route. I'm in the passenger seat and the dad is driving. I was about 17 at the time, and the topic of being a man came up. He talked about how sometimes you just need to follow your dreams. We are all listening at this point. He then tells us this isn't his first life. Told us he moved to the West Coast when he was really young and started a family, wife, kids. He said liked them decently enough, but he wanted to get more out of life. So one day he went out to pick up some milk and never went back. I don't know how the kids in the truck took the story, but my friend and I were pretty what the F the rest of the trip. When I was a teenager, I found out that my friend's father called me headlights because I had big breasts. Another friend's father liked to put his hands all over me. I avoided going over there as much as possible. Just the slow realization that my best friend's cool dad was battling some major demons. When you're young, having an adult who will take you shooting, let you drive their truck on the back roads at 11 to 12, teach you how to weld and fix cars, is amazing. Then you get older and realize that you were shooting guns in the middle of a suburb. Your friend's dad was drinking and needed a ride home, and none of the welding instruction was done with proper safety gear, and you realize that the adult you idolized and looked up to was an alcoholic endangering kids.